All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are stepping inside what is basically an impenetrable digital fortress. We're going to be looking at the operational foundation of the Cohandy ecosystem, specifically focusing on the Gatehouse Kernel identity posture for the Facility Rituals Operator Edition. If you're looking to understand exactly how Cohandy maintains absolute security, accountability, and trust across its platforms, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to unpack the architecture that makes this system fundamentally secure by design. Okay, let's dive right into this roadmap so you know exactly where we're headed. We'll start with Welcome to the Gatehouse, then move on to Identity, Roles, and Badges. After that, we'll hit the three-tier permission architecture, look into enforcing roots and mutations, and wrap it all up with audit logs and compliance.
Kicking things off with Section 1, Welcome to the Gatehouse. Think of a highly secure physical facility, right? Before you can even get close to the internal doors, you have to pass through a heavily guarded exterior gatehouse. Well, in the software architecture of the Cohandy ecosystem, we've taken that literal metaphor and translated it into what we call the Gatehouse Kernel. This core module is your single, unified identity layer. It honestly doesn't matter if a user is logging into Euthos, Staphos, Vendoros, Partneros, or literally any other facility-grade operational app. The Gatehouse Kernel is the singular entry point. It ensures that before anything happens, every single action inside the app is tied to a verified identity, governed by a consistent role model, and protected by incredibly strict permission rules.
And I cannot overstate how strict this is. The Gatehouse is the sole authentication mechanism, period. There is no local login, there's no parallel authentication path, and there's absolutely zero public access to operational data. Honestly, even if a user desperately wanted to do something anonymously in the system, the Gatehouse simply wouldn't let them. There is no backdoor. You either have the keys to the gate or you're just not getting in.
Moving right along to Section 2, Identity, Roles, and Badges.
So if the Gatehouse is the sole entry point, we really need to understand the specific credentials that actually get you through that gate. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is that every single user carries a specific Gatehouse identity profile, and it's made up of three non-negotiable elements. First up, the identity itself. This is your verified Gatehouse account, determining your fundamental access. Second is the role, which could be youth, operator, supervisor, director, or founder. That role dictates your authority and exactly what you're allowed to do. And third is the badge. This maps to the specific app context you're operating in, like YouthOS or StaffOS. To put it simply, identity gets you in, your role gives you power, and your badge tells the system exactly where you belong.
Which brings us to Section 3, Three-Tier Permission Architecture.
Getting past that initial Gatehouse check, that's just step one, because once you're inside, there are strict internal security walls. Let's picture a scenario for a second. Imagine a physical facility room where a sensitive daily ritual is taking place. That's a core operational entity in Tier A. Now, why can't a public user, or maybe even a youth without the right role, just go in and update the ritual card for that room? Well, it's because right access for Tier A operational entities strictly requires an operator role or higher, and public access, completely disabled. The system automatically tags identity fields, like who created it, who updated it, who last saw it. Then we have Tier B, which protects all log entities with those same rigorous read requirements while reserving write access strictly for the system and authenticated workflows. And finally, Tier C handles reference materials, stuff like templates. These might have some public read access if they aren't sensitive, but you still need a supervisor role to edit them. This strict architectural separation isn't just about organizing data. It's fundamentally about protecting youth safety and dignity, making absolutely sure no sensitive action ever happens in the shadows.
So the crucial point here is this: zero public exposure of operational or log data. For reviewers, system operators, and partners out there, this absolute lack of public exposure is really the bedrock of franchise trust. I mean, you simply cannot have a safe facility environment if there's even a chance operational data could leak to unverified eyes.
All right, let's jump to Section 4, Enforcing Routes and Mutations. We've seen the rules, but let's move to how this builds into active enforcement mechanisms guarding the application's digital pathways. The system is completely unyielding here. Operational routes, things like accessing the facility map, viewing a ritual card, checking the logbook, those strictly require a Gatehouse identity. But if you want to touch admin routes, configuring roles, modifying security, changing global settings, you must have a supervisor identity or higher, period. Even public routes, like the landing or help pages, are completely stripped of operational queries. It is a very tightly controlled traffic system. Let's trace the anatomy of an action to see how deep this actually goes into the code itself. Every single operational action or mutation has to pass through 4 uncompromising kernel guards. Step 1. The system runs require identity for the app context, basically asking, are you who you say you are? Step 2. It runs check role against the minimum rank required for the action, meaning, are you authorized for this? Step 3. It uses attach identity to mutation. This automatically stamps the verified identity metadata right onto that room update or log entry. And Step 4. Deny public access. The system double-checks to ensure the entity can never ever be exposed externally. Because of this step-by-step gauntlet, a ritual completion is always tied to a verified operator. Nothing is ever anonymous. Ever.
And that takes us to our final part, Section 5, Audit Logs and Compliance.
And this brilliantly illustrates how this perfect tracking leads right into our final layer of security, the continuous surveillance and record-keeping that holds the entire facility accountable. The breadth of the system's awareness is honestly vast. Every single identity-related event generates a specific identity log entry. We're talking about every login, every logout, whenever a role is changed, whenever a badge is swapped, anytime permission is denied, and for literally all operational mutations. Tracking every single movement creates a movement-wide audit trail. This isn't just technical logging, you guys. This is the very data that proves facility compliance, guarantees youth safety, enforces operator accountability, and ultimately builds that partner trust required for franchise replication.
Which all leads to this incredibly satisfying number, 0. After applying these Gatehouse kernel bindings, the application was put through the rigorous Base 44 MCP security module, and because public access is disabled on all room and log entry entities, it resolves all flagged issues and passes with 0 critical findings. 0. It is a completely locked-down architecture.
Now, the technical data is impressive for sure, but it all serves a deeply human purpose, beautifully summarized in this founder's statement. Cohandy apps operate in environments where safety, dignity, and accountability are essential. The Gatehouse kernel ensures that every action, every ritual, every room update, every log entry is tied to a verified identity and governed by a consistent, franchise-safe permission model. This isn't just about databases, right? This identity posture is the foundational movement architecture. It's the absolute, uncompromising standard required for all future apps in the ecosystem.
Which leaves us with this final thought. You've just seen the mechanics of an impenetrable digital trust. The gatehouse is secure, the pathways are guarded, and the audit trail is absolute. So, for the Launchpad reviewers and potential partners looking at this architecture, with the foundation this secure, what will you build in the Cohandy ecosystem next? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.